Hello everyone, welcome to the Average Student IS. Today is 25th Jan 2019. I am going to start the discussion on the Hindu. So let's start with the first article. This article actually is related to the Meghalaya rat hole mining tragedy which has taken place 43 days back. So you can relate this article with paper 2 and paper 3. Paper 2 as a governance part and paper 3 as a environment ecology and disaster management part. So this article has highlighted that our mining which has been thriving in most of the state is because of the cost of our environment. So we must develop some kind of a mechanism so that our environment is not lost, and we must develop a mechanism so that it can be a sustainable and most vibrant way of mining we could opt. So this article is actually highlighting that the way we have opted the rescue effort in the Meghalaya was not adequate, because 43 days after we have not been able to rescue, and I think that they have all have died. So he has suggested that some other method could be opted in order to have more prudent way of rescuing. So he has suggested that it could have, they have called some hydrologists to scientifically map out the area from where water has entered into the mine. After that, finding out that from where the water has entered into the mine, they could have closed that particular area, rather than they were just pumping the water out. The water is entering from that particular area and they are pumping out. So it was not a much more vibrant method. If this could be have been opted, definitely it would have a much more better result. So here it has been highlighted that there was a delay in the rescue method because the hydrologist and the divers from the Navy and the 100 horsepower water pumps arrived 2 weeks after the disaster. Definitely they should have arrived early, as soon as possible, and definitely remote operated underwater vehicle came 3 weeks later, and the geologist also arrived at 3 weeks later. So all these delays happened, you know why? Because there was not any single coordinated rescue authority or agency which could have been contacted during the time of disaster. That's why we must have to focus on this area, and creating a single unit like NDRF, we have this kind of a coordinated agency should be created, so that in the any kind of a mishap or any kind of a disaster, they could be contacted and they should be brought at a time so that this delay could not be happen. So all this show that the kind of disaster preparedness we have in our country. We have a disaster management team, but we are not prepared adequately to deal with this kind of a disaster. So just think that if there was any massive earthquake in the northeast, which is listed as a zone 5 in the seismic zone, so you can see that what the result will be, how the rescue operation would be possible if a small mishap have taken so much time for a rescue effort. If you have a massive earthquake in the northeast, definitely it will be going to have a much disastrous effect. So some serious question has been raised by the writer, that why the government is allowing this kind of mining here. So this kind of a mining is not been allowed, which is complete disregard for the human life and safety. So this kind of a mining should not be allowed. Even the National Green Tribunal has banned this kind of mining in April 2014, but the mining continue in this state. Why Meghalaya is exempted from the national mining law? So definitely it should all be addressed in order to deal with this kind of rat hole mining. So it has been highlighted that there is a severe effect of this mining, because it has poisoned 3 rivers in the Jaintia Hill, Mintu, Lunar and Lukha. This all river has been poisoned due to this mining, and acid mine drainage from the abandoned mine was the major cause of water pollution in the area investigated, and the report added that these are only due to the acid mine drainage. So even the cement company also released their effluent into the river, is another source of pollution in this area, and it is also polluting the water. So here in the conclusion, it has been suggested that in 40 years of mining, the mine owners have till date not constructed a single hospital or even a school. This is a complete disregard for a corporate social responsibility. So it has been suggested that how long central government and highest court of a land allow this to carry on one part of a country when the strict law was applied elsewhere. So definitely same law should be applied here. They should not be exempted, because it is a loss of environment, loss of human being, and loss of human dignity. So we must togetherly come and raise our voices in order to curb this kind of happening and mishaps which is happening there. And one must and foremost thing, government should focus that creating a single agency which could deal with any kind of a disaster or extra calamities happening in our country. Okay, so next article you can relate with paper 2, that this article is related with the influenza. So let me tell you that actually what the influenza is. Influenza is commonly known as a flu, and it's an infectious disease caused by an influenza virus. So it has some symptoms can be mild to severe. So the most common symptom include high fever, runny nose, sore throat, muscle pain, headache, and coughing. So as for your own idea, you can relate with that if this kind of a symptom is shown, you must have to rush to the doctor. So what is the issue in this article has been highlighted. So in this article it has been highlighted that the seasonal influenza poses a significant public health challenge for India everywhere. So the spread of infection during the first 2 weeks of 2019 cries out for an effective plan to contain it. Definitely we don't have an effective plan to curb it out. So we need some kind of a effective plan and the measures to curb out this kind of influenza, which has been disrupting, and it is also taking so much of life. In Rajasthan, we have seen that 768 cases has been highlighted and 31 deaths as of January 13. So definitely it is going to impact a lot on our public health, and it's a challenge for us. The integrated disease surveillance program highlighted that around 42,592 were infected, and the death tolls touching 2,990 in 2015. So definitely it's hampering our health system, and it is also a burden in our health system. So some steps has been suggested by a writer that there is need to be a better understanding of the nature and the active virus, and the availability of quadrivalent vaccine will be helpful in curbing. So we must have to focus on and understand the nature of active virus, how it is been impacting, and the availability of quadrivalent vaccine will be helpful in curbing this. So preventive measures need to be put in place based on experience. So we have some kind of experience that how this virus is taking place. So we must have to take some preventive measures, like we must have some kind of, you can say, vaccination should be done. So it has been suggested that large scale vaccination covering high risk group should be done, so that in the states such as Rajasthan, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Telangana and National Capital Region should be devoid of this kind of influenza infection. A universal preventive program should be considered at least for the future. So it has been suggesting that the universal preventive program we must have to adopt some kind of a vaccine which could prevent this kind of influenza virus in near future. So it has been also suggested that due to non-availability of sufficient doses of quadrivalent vaccine need to be addressed, we must have to produce all these vaccines in a much more larger scale, so that we could prevent any kind of a demand and supply crisis. And if a vaccines have proven efficacy in reducing the burden of the seasonal influenza, it must be made a part of public health system, and umbrella program like Ayushman Bharat can easily provide it to everyone using public and private institutions. So we must have to focus on this in order to provide to each and every people should be covered under this. So it has been also suggested that we could campaign to educate the public through mass media ahead of the seasons and help the transmission. So definitely awareing the people with mass media can also be helping curbing this influenza. At this time, upgrading existing vaccine require a consistent effort to track viral mutation that takes place periodically. So we must have to understand the changing dimension of the virus, and we must have to upgrade our vaccine in order to that mutation takes place in the virus. So here in the conclusion it has been suggested that the seasonal influenza will continue to resurface according to the WHO. So India must prepare for it with a comprehensive program to cover all the states. Next article you can relate with paper 3. It has been news for environment and ecology part. So there is some news about the Bandipur Tiger Reserve. So we have to just know about the Bandipur Tiger Reserve. Actually this is Tiger Reserve was established in 1974 as a Project Tiger, and it is a national park located in the southern state of the Karnataka. It has the highest population of tiger in India. So you can just remember that it has the highest Bandipur Tiger Reserve, and the Bandipur Tiger Reserve is actually located adjoining to the Nagarhole National Park. Here I have shown you a map where here is the Bandipur Tiger Reserve. You can relate. Here is the Nagarhole Tiger Reserve. Different tiger reserve has been highlighted here. Madhumalai Tiger Reserve is here. Wayanad Wildlife Sanctuary is here. You can read all these things. So next article you can relate with paper 3 environment and ecology part, that 18 Indian institution to study nitrogen pollution. So you just have to know that what is the nitrogen pollution. Actually nitrogen pollution is the nitrogen which is released as a part of compound from agriculture, sewage, biological waste, is considered reactive and more polluting and causing greenhouse gas effect. So definitely they are a key threat. Some of key threat of our nitrogen pollution is biodiversity loss, pollution of the river and the sea, ozone depletion, health, economy and the livelihoods. So how this, some causes of the nitrogen pollution are emission from the chemical fertilizer, burning of the fossil fuel and emission from the livestock. So it has been here highlighted that Indian nitrogen emission grew at 52 from 1991 to 2001 and 69% from 2001 to 2010. Definitely it is increasing, so we must have to take some measures in order to curb this. Next article you can relate with paper 3 science and tech part, that ISRO recently tested for success of 2010. So actually it was in news because ISRO has launched a modified PSLV with just 2 strap motors. So it has launched with this 2 strap motor, it has launched one satellite Microsat-R on PSLV C44 with just 2 strap on motor. Actually usually ISRO was using 6 strap motors for its launch, but this time it has launched it on 2 strap motors. So definitely it will also helpful for carrying out a higher payloads. Definitely and it is the first time that Indian satellite was being placed by ISRO in the low orbit at an altitude of 274 km. The Kalamsat was also launched in order to use the 4th stage of our launch vehicle. So this time, first time we have used the 4th stage in order to launch some lightweight satellite. Okay, thank you very much.